Hi, this is Kevin C. Mason from Jack Monkey Games, and today's topic is how to use questions to improve your players' investment in their characters. Okay, so you're running this game, and you've got a player who's not really invested in their character, and you want to find out ways that you can get them more invested. So one of the things that you can do is to ask them questions. Now, I like to use weapons as a really good way of describing this. So I'm going to show you two weapons, and I want you to tell me which one is more powerful. Now, I will let you know the first one is a +1 sword. The second one is also a +1 sword. Okay, so what's the difference? The difference is that the player described the second sword. So I asked them, so you've got this sword that you've been carrying around for a while. So tell me one thing that's really cool about it. And when they describe, well, it's got this gold handle, okay? Gold handle doesn't affect the fact that it's a +1 sword. The player, however, now has envisioned this +1 sword and is thinking, okay, wow, this is something that's mine. So I also ask them, okay, so who gave you that sword? So now that sword is no longer a +1 sword. It is now a gold-handled +1 sword given to them by their father. So then I say, okay, and what is engraved on the blade? Well, it's no longer a +1 sword. It's now a gold-handled +1 sword that was given to them by their father that has a dragon engraved on the blade. Now, you think, okay, how is that really getting the character invested? Well, now we know that they had a good relationship with their father, or at least somewhat of a relationship with their father. They're now starting to think about that weapon. It's no longer something that could be easily replaced. In fact, that +1 sword is now more valuable to that player than a +3 sword because it was given to them by their father. So now you have this investment in that sword. From a Game Master standpoint, things that you might want to consider doing, NPCs make comments about the sword. Hey, that's really nice. Or when they encounter someone that knows of their father, go, hey, are you Torvald's daughter? When they encounter someone who may have encountered their father and was like, oh, wait, I don't want to mess with this person. Look, that's the son or daughter of Torvald. Okay, Torvald's some badass. Or maybe Torvald's not. Maybe Torvald has some enemies. And because they're carrying that sword, so it adds extra plot hooks. And now that sword is almost its own character. And all you did was ask a few questions. So here's what I want you to do. Here's your GM homework. What I want you to do is I want you to think of about 10 different questions that you can ask players. And it could be something simple. What color is your scabbard? That shield, okay? What made the largest dent in your shield? There's something special about your hammer. What is it? Now, you can veto things that might affect its stats or maybe make it a overpowered item. But if it's something like color, description, history, anything like that, I would go for it. If it turns out that the sword was once owned by a great king and everyone knows it, then that sounds like a fantastic plot hook. So think of things that you can do. In fact, if you go to jackmonkeygames.com, I'm going to have a PDF that has got a ton of different questions that you can ask players. And in fact, I've even put it in a table format, and you just roll the dice and ask players these random questions, and let's see what happens. Okay, so the new thing we're going to be doing is viewer questions. Now, the first question is actually from Andreas the Bard, a friend of mine on Twitter, and he asks, how do you avoid metagaming? Now, I am not an RPG expert. In fact, most of this advice is stuff I've learned from people on Twitter. So if I recommend following me on Twitter at jackmonkeygames.com. But here's one of the things that I do to avoid metagaming. I've got a player who's notorious for metagaming. And I've actually had to have a conversation with this person saying, hey, look, what's going on? Even though you know what's happening way over here, you don't know this. And sometimes going and letting the player know ahead of time what the expectations are can really reduce metagaming. Something else that I have found is that if you've got someone who's really bad about metagaming all the time, challenge them to stop metagaming. Challenge them by saying, okay, I know you know the answer of this, but I want you to help get all the other players in the right space by avoiding metagaming. I want you to not use player knowledge. I want you to try and do things as your character would. And if you do this, I'll give you more XP. So it's kind of like if you set the expectations, and this goes with life throughout. I mean, if you set expectations with your friends and family, of what, set your boundaries, then, life's going to be a little bit better for you anyways. And if someone violates that again, that's a separate conversation. But for the most part, I find that even my worst metagamer, I just have to talk to them and say, hey, this is what I expect. And the problem kind of goes away for the most part. It's amazing what happens when you have that better communication. Now, if you've got your comments on how you handle metagaming, feel free to send me a video, rvr@jackmonkeygames.com. Send me a tweet, at jackmonkeygames.com, and let me know what you think.